Jim Feig coming back to you from South Bridge Street Live. This morning I want to talk about some classic automobiles, and I've got a photograph up here, as you can see. Beautiful photograph. This is the kind of prints that Korchinski's Photo Lab can produce for you. So if you need anything, run over to Cozy Circle, look in their store, and see what they can do. But let's talk about this old automobile for a second. It's I found this car among thousands of others at a large classic auto auction in Dallas a couple of years ago. And they had some beautiful cars there, but this is the one that really caught my eye. It's a vintage 1935 Packard. That car was built about the time I was born, and it's no ordinary car. We'll talk about it some more. What I want to do, and if you'll look at photograph 2 here, what I'm going to do is take this vintage car and do a classic black and white photograph for you with some special effects. Notice the photograph I have on the wall now. Beautiful black and white. That's the same car. I've just fooled around with it a little bit. What did I do? Well, I'm going to be working in Photoshop's Elements today. I won't do the step-by-step thing. I'll describe them step-by-step, but it gets messy if I try to do it on the screen. But this is Photoshop Elements version 14 I'm using. Any of the Photoshop programs or any of the post-processing programs that works with layers will work with this technique I'm talking about today. Okay, let's go to picture 3. This is the first step. We're going to crop out much of the back part of that and the top part of the auto. We want to work with the front fender, the grille, and those red wheels, those beautiful wheels. That's what we want to work with here. You might see that this crop I have here is a little bit different than the one I showed you in the black and white. I've got several different photographs of this. I don't just take one photograph when I photograph something. I usually end up about 6 or 7 or something like this. But the original that I'm working with on the black and white has a little more room on the front and below. But this will work just as well for the demonstration. Okay, let's look and see what we're going to do with this car. We've cropped it already. Now the post-processing I normally do, I'll go through a levels step to adjust the exposure. All I do there is open up levels, and then you'll have a histogram of the car, and there'll be a black and a white point. I pull them in toward the edges. With this particular case, I pulled the white one in a little bit more, and it brightened up the photo a little bit. Then if it needs any sharpening, I'll sharpen it, but this one worked well without the sharpening. Now if you look at that photo, there's the top area's got a lot of clutter. The top area has a lot of clutter. The one side of the hood is open. There's another car parked behind it, and it's a little bit of clutter back there. So I'm gonna deal with that first. I'm gonna open up my paint palette and set it to black. I'm gonna take my paintbrush, and I'm just gonna paint that area above the top of the car. I'm gonna paint it in black. You'll see how it looks when I go to the black and white version of the car, but I'm going to get rid of all that clutter by just painting it black. It'll look like the shadows up there when we get done. Okay, now we want to get serious. We want to do all the tricky things to make this look like that beautiful black and white photo with the red wheels that we showed you earlier. So first of all, I'm going to be working in layers on my Photoshop. I'm going to bring up a duplicate layer. I'm going to open a duplicate layer. What that does, as I open the duplicate layer, I now have one photograph stacked upon the other in the computer. They're identical. 2 photographs identical, stacked one above the other. The only thing I can see right now is that top photograph. It's just like I'm stacking two pictures, one above the other, and all I can see is the top photograph. I'm going to take that top photograph and I'm going to convert it to a black and white image. There's several ways to do this. I can just go to the Photoshop black and white conversion and do that. I can just desaturate the whole picture and make it black and white. I chose to use a plug-in made by Topaz called Topaz Black and White. It gives me a little more control over the character of the black and white. So